defend our rights. Yes. Sir. Inshallah, we can get started. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Manzoor Cheema. I'm member of Muslims for Social Justice and People's Power Lab, and I will let my friend also introduce, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I'm Samir Cheema, also from Muslims for Social Justice and People's Power Lab. Thank you all for sticking around. This is a super important topic, as we've seen ICE around in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and inshallah, the more informed we are, the more power we have. And inshallah, I'll kick this off to Brother Manzoor.
Inshallah, and we'll pass with each other. Brother Samir has been very active in member of our organization, and a lot of things you're gonna see are actually his pictures or his participation. But I will start, inshallah, with some myths about immigration enforcement, that being undocumented is a crime or felony crime. It is not a felony crime. It is a misdemeanor. Being undocumented entering the border to USA is not a felony crime. But if they are arrested and deported and people come back, then it's a crime. And the reason is you will often hear from this administration, from the media, the word illegal. We don't use the word illegal. The word you should use is undocumented. These people do not have papers, and undocumented people also have rights in this country. They have right to education, they have right to healthcare, they have right for many other, they are still human beings, and they should not be reduced to second-class human beings. And then in the current climate, it's extremely important to understand what is happening. The people think that this ICE and CBP is only arresting undocumented people who committed some crime. The reality is there are a lot of people who've been arrested, detained, have some sort of legal status like green card or asylum or work permit or student visa. And in few cases, even citizens have been deported. So this administration is not following the law. They are breaking the law. And this is why it's very important for us to know and defend ourselves with proper rights. And being silent and playing by the rules when there is no even rules being followed will not save. We need to be part of a movement which we, inshallah, gonna talk about. And I don't know, whenever you want to add. So roots of anti-immigrant crisis also is this racism and anti-Muslim bigotry or hatred, which is Islamophobia, wars and occupation. Increase in inequality is causing a lot of this, attacks on immigrants. And we can see overall in the country rise in authoritarianism and fascism. And why I'm bringing this slide, we have to understand that there was no ICE before 9/11. There was no Department of Homeland Security before 9/11. They were created against Muslims. So the reason this I'm bringing is that this is a political attack. It is used as a political tool. ICE, a Department of Homeland Security, and they were used against Muslims, and then they were expanded to all other communities. And more important, many of our allies in the white community, people in USA know this is going to be expanded even to average Americans eventually. Because if you do not stop it now, this kind of abuse is going to take, nobody will be safe. Another example I'll give you, many people know that many Palestinian activists at universities who are on student visa, sometimes green card, were also arrested. That's not ICE jurisdiction. But it's been used, it's politicized or weaponized to silence people. And eventually, a lot of people know, a lot of people's political activity will be silenced if we do not speak up. And there's a history of anti-immigrant attacks. In 1882, Chinese Exclusion Act, Anti-Immigrant Act in 1924, Muslim ban in 2017. Most of us, our people, older generation than us, black and brown immigrants, could not even come to USA before 1965. In 1965, there was a visa policy change because of the civil rights movement. Before that, they didn't even give us visa. They were only gave visas to German, Irish, Italian, and other people. So we have to understand these are all political matters, and eventually it will require us to be part of the movement. And our slide is for that reason, and I'll give it to Brother Samir too, is not just know your right, but defend our rights too. Because knowing rights is very important, obviously. Knowing lawyers is important, but that is not enough. That's only 10% of the work. You also then have to be part of a movement, and I will explain what I mean. This is a brother in Raleigh, Brother Musa Hamadisa. He is a Palestinian asylum seeker. who was detained by ICE in 2017. And through this masjid, we found out, and then we very quickly started organizing. One of his daughter had a rare form of cancer. And then we built a coalition. You can see all of these organizations, including Jewish organizations and churches and labor unions and many other organizations got involved. And we did protests and rallies for 2 months. And his news then started appearing in the local media. News and Observer, even posted editorial. Normally they don't do editorial for immigrants like that, but they did at that time an editorial. And WRAL News, had a very powerful heading, "America, you should be ashamed," based on, the brother has a daughter with a rare form of cancer. And BuzzFeed is a national media, they also covered it. And eventually he was released after 2 months. So just saying that this pressure is extremely important. When people get in trouble, when they're detained, then it is not just the lawyers alone. Lawyers and the judges are not in a vacuum. Judges exist in a context of power, and they just follow wherever the power is. And when people organize, they build a power, and then judges listen to that. But I don't know, Samir.
So to add on to that, in order to organize, we need to get together. We need to build coalitions. We are not the only ones in this community that are facing oppression. Yes, we see all the time, it feels like it's centered around Muslims, but sometimes, as you see now, it might be Latinos. Every day there might be a new excuse for the government or someone in power to take that power away from smaller minority communities. And this is why we need to make these connections with other communities. We might not believe in everything that they believe in, but we can work together to make sure that the rights that we do have are protected. The rights that we are granted in a constitution are protected. What's happening now is rights that should be protected are not. The government's making their own rules. They're going above the law and making all of the minority people who don't know the rules and regulations oppressed. Our goal here today is to empower you with information, and so hopefully you can join our group or some other group, but we need to make this strength. This ummah needs to be strong in the United States. We cannot live in our little bubbles anymore. We need to grow, talk to our neighbors, have them understand where we're coming from. We cannot live in this world isolated. We need to make this traction so that we can get more power, inshallah.
Thank you. And I will again go to another brother, Abdullah Iso from Gambia, also detained by ICE 2018. A community member told us. Similarly, we formed first thing a coalition because if just Muslims are talking about it and nobody supports that, we don't have enough people. And eventually these coalitions allow us to write letters to the editors, media, and also reach out to senators and Congress members because they have much, much bigger network. They even know which churches these Congress member senators go and reach out to them. And this, again, the story got depicted in the local media, eventually, after 6 months, it took us 6 months, Brother Abdullah Iso, who's a kidney patient on dialysis, was eventually released. And this is a recent case in 2025, just, August 2025, the brother in Greensboro, a Libyan brother, Muhammad Nasir, has been released in a similar situation. And he was detained. Again, all of these cases, they either are a green card or asylum seeker or a work permit, but their lawyer may have missed one deadline or some procedural thing may have happened, and ICE is, going after them. Why? Because in this administration, I gave them a quota of 1 million people. They have to deport 1 million people. And now through hook or crook, they want to find people and try to deport them. And it's our job, inshallah, that we gave you the red card. We also gave you this number, Siembra NC. If you don't have a lawyer, they're going to provide you pro bono lawyer. We're going to find you movement lawyer if something happens. But we need to be very aware, of these attacks. And then, we need to provide them all the resources. And this is where we were not involved, but these pictures I am hoping many people are familiar with. These are the 4 students who were detained by ICE. Again, is this ICE work? No, this is literally I would say, authoritarian or fascist regime, which is using these, tools or to repress freedom of speech, to repress Palestine freedom. Mahmoud Khalil, Columbia University student, Badr Khan Suri from Georgetown University, Sister Rasmia Ozturk from Tufts University, and Mohsen Madawi also from Columbia University, and there are many more who were detained. But guess what? All of them were released eventually. Why were they released? Because people protested throughout the country. In New York, the Jewish Voice of Peace, they blocked the whole Grand Central Station. Eventually, because of the people's pressure, they were released. Yes, there were lawyers involved, very smart lawyers at a clear law firm in New York, but it was because of the people's power that they were released. And this is the most important thing we have to understand, that we need to organize, or we need to be part of the movement to release our people. I don't know if you want to share on this or later.
Yeah, once again, reiterating the same things, that it's not us Muslims alone fighting against everybody. We are a minority in this country, but we need to make these coalitions so that we can be stronger. In another few years, black and brown people, there'll be more black and brown people in the United States than the white people right now, and that kind of makes them afraid. The powers that be want to stay in power. They don't want to see people like Mamdani, mayor of New York. That's not what they want. How many billionaires gave their money against him? But he still won. But we need this traction everywhere in this country. And that happens by building bonds, building connections, building coalitions, and us all getting together, not waiting to react for ICE to come, but we should be ready before they are coming. We should know before they're coming and have our whole community prepared and ready for them. This takes effort, this takes time, but inshallah, this work will only pay dividends for us, inshallah, in the future.
Definitely, inshallah. Now I'm going to go to the Know Your Rights section, inshallah, and quickly go over some slides. But again, you have all the, this red card has a summary of everything, but this is a little more detail. So what to do when ICE comes to your home or car? Lock the door, start recording the interaction, ideally through social media page. Many people have been released after those videos, because what those videos are showing, that the ICE agents are breaking the law. They are not showing the warrant to people. And many times they're abducting, landscaper, roofer, anywhere, without giving them their the warrant. So that's why people making videos are extremely important. Call Siembra. This is a hotline, 336-543-0353. We circulated those paper, but you can also get it if you need more. And then tell them, show me the judicial warrant that has the name and address of the person you're looking for. Why? Because sometimes ICE or Border Patrol are going to the wrong addresses and detaining wrong people. So it's very important that we see the judicial warrant. Check the warrant if they have one. A court order starts with the phrase district court or state court. An administrative order says Homeland Security, and that's not the one that's permissible to detain people. If they don't have a court order, stop talking to them. Don't answer if they ask where you're from or if you know anyone else. Don't talk to them, don't open the door, and don't sign anything, especially without a lawyer. If this is a court order, it must have 1, a judge's signature, number 2, the name of the exact address of the person wanted, and number 3, the person must be present. This is an example of administrative warrant and a court order. Administrative warrant, you will see, is signed by an ICE agent, and the court order is signed by a judge. A judicial order is signed by a judge. This is another example by Project South. A lot of these slides I'm showing is from Siembra NC, and this is from Project South. And again, I mentioned they can offer you even pro bono lawyer or provide you affordable lawyers, but also contact us, and we also know lawyers in if needed. And then if the ICE comes to your car, check the warrant if they have one. A court order starts with the phrase This, maybe I went in the wrong direction, sorry. Okay. If ICE comes to your school, they are also coming to school. In the last administration, they said ICE will not enter schools, churches, or even mosques or hospital. Now they are going to all those, institutions or places of worship. Your school district should have a policy refusing entry or access of information without a federal judicial warrant. Wake County Public School has this policy. Unfortunately, not all teachers or principals are aware or taking a stance. If our kids go to public school, we should demand that they should follow the policy that ICE cannot enter without a judicial warrant. And oftentimes this is happening. It's a big institution. Some leaders know it, but they don't implement it. And as parents, we need to demand that they should enforce this policy. Don't answer their questions and refuse entry to any part of the building with staff, parents, or students. If possible, make copies of their IDs, but at least write down all identifying info. Save surveillance footage, again, to confirm their identities later. After they leave, host a meeting to share info about what happened, evaluate the responses, and run role plays about what to do next time. What to do if you are detained by ICE? Again, a lot of these things, are what we discussed earlier, that do not open the door if they do not have a valid warrant signed by a judge. This is not just for ICE. This is also for police. This is also for FBI. They cannot enter, they cannot even ask you until they have a warrant. And we should all know that information. And we can all say that I cannot speak without a lawyer. Again, contact us and we will arrange a pro bono lawyer. If you are in a car, you can choose to keep your window closed while you call our hotline, and there is a risk agents will break it. You may have seen videos, they are breaking the car windows. Record the interaction if possible, note name and badge numbers, memorize our hotline. But one other thing that I can tell you, these red cards I gave you, take a picture on your phone. Oftentimes, people misplace these cards, but when you put it on a phone, you more likely are going to be able to save it. Do not disclose your immigration status or country of origin. Do not sign any documents. Very brief summary of what to say if you are detained by ICE. I will not speak without my attorney present. I do not consent to a search. Am I being arrested, or am I being free, or am I free to go? This again pertains to police too. If they are on a street and start asking you questions, you can eventually ask, am I being arrested? Or you still can say, do you have a warrant? If they don't have a warrant, you can say, am I being arrested? And if they say no, you can just walk away. I will not discuss my immigration status with you. I will not reveal my country of origin. And this is a card again. You can take a picture. A lot of Latino students nowadays have this on their phone. And we are giving to our refugee families too, that they take this picture and keep that on their phone so they can recite that if the ICE interacts with them. So these are a little bit more slides from Project South, more explanation. That very important thing, ICE officers can lie to you. But if we lie, it's a crime, it's a perjury. But the police, ICE, FBI, they can lie to you. So we have to be very careful. Also, sometimes if we are saying something and may not be accurate, they may say, what were you doing 5 years ago? Or did you go out of the country 5 years ago? And if we don't have correct memory, they can use it against us. This is why it's a very good practice not to even talk without an attorney. ICE officers may be wearing plain clothes, which is happening. If you are a non-citizen, you are required to show proof of status to immigration officials. If you do not have documents showing proof of status, you should invoke the right to remain silent and ask for an attorney. Once you have provided the document, you do not need to answer any other question, including your immigration status, how you entered the country, or anything else. Invoke your right to remain silent, which is a constitutional right. Pretending false or expired papers may lead to deportation or criminal prosecution. That's why do not give them documents without a lawyer looking at them. Your family should keep a copy of all documents that have been filed. ICE can arrest you only if they have probable cause to believe that an immigration violation has been committed. Do you know that 97% people detained by this ICE and Border Patrol have no criminal record? This just shows they are randomly going after people because they have a quota to fulfill. Trump, the administration said that they have to have certain number of people deported. So this is why it's extremely important to know our rights, and many are freed. Many eventually are freed in the court. When the evidence is presented, they are also getting freed. But unfortunately, in some cases, they are not freed from detention, and in some few cases also deported, unfortunately. If ICE asks anything about your political and religious beliefs, groups you belong to or contribute to, things you have said, where you have traveled, you do not have to answer. If ICE seeks to search you or your belongings without a warrant, say, I do not consent to this search. Even if they don't listen, invoking the phrase may be beneficial later in the court. That's why somebody should be making the video while you're saying that. And if they violate that, judge can see that and they can then rule in your favor. You have a right to contact your consulate or embassy. Family members with legal status may visit you. Do not volunteer information about your spouse and kids. Be sure to keep a copy of all papers you have signed for ICE. Request to have an attorney present before signing anything. You have the right to call a lawyer and to be visited by a lawyer in immigration detention. Look for an immigration attorney who specializes in deportation defense. But there are some cases where the crime is committed, then it's criminal and immigration attorney is needed. Request a written contract from your attorney before paying. Make sure your attorney looks at your NTA or immigration papers before making any promise. You do not have the right to a court-appointed attorneys, but officials must show you a list of free or low-cost service providers. But again, contact us, contact Siembra, and they can also give you a list. You have the right to have your attorney with you at any hearing before an immigration judge. You also have a right to have an interpreter and any documents translated. It's always safe to require, even if I'm in this situation, I will require, because there's some terms may be difficult, legal terms. So it's always good to have an interpreter and have extra precaution. And these are similarly more, if you have been approached by the FBI or Joint Terrorism Task Force for questioning, if you or your children have experienced religious discrimination at a public school, which is happening a lot, and bullying, if you or relative are imprisoned at an immigration detention, this is an email, legal@projectsouth.org. They have provided legal support to many of our people here. So this is one organization. And these are a few other slides from Education Justice Alliance that are just focused on school system. And they are demanding this policy from the Wake County Public School. The staff will not ask students or families about their immigration status. Staff will not coordinate with ICE, Custom Border Patrol, or any federal immigration enforcement agencies. Immigration agents will not be permitted to enter school buildings or property without a valid criminal judicial warrant. Implement a non-punitive response to absences during periods of heightened immigration activity. I think more than 10,000 students missed the school after this ICE and Border Patrol came. Probably more than that. I thought 13 or 14,000 in Charlotte and about similar. So they are ruining the education. Sorry. 19,000. So this is a huge abuse, and oppression against our people, and we should demand that, they should be provided, extra credit or, school, services, academic services in this case. And school districts across the country, including Chicago, Los Angeles, Denver, have passed safe zone and security school resolution. Wake County can and also must also do the same. So, and we ask, there is actually a webinar happening, and please, I have some papers here too that you can basically link. It's ejanc.org. It's Tuesday, July 29th, on how to basically know more about your rights. And this is the hotline that I just shared with you all. This is, so you also, when you're calling the hotline, and let's say you see something on the street, this is called ICE verification. So this is a acronym SALUTE, S-A-L-U-T. What it says is that you have to tell them size, number of agents or vehicles, activity, what the agents are doing, location, specific address, intersection. If you are on a street and see, the best thing is take a picture of the intersection of two streets, and that will very quickly give them idea where this thing is taking place. Uniform, what the agents are wearing, and sometimes they are hiding their identity. Time, date and time of incident, equipment, any vehicle, weapons or tools. Because of that, people have been able to track, patrol the ICE. In some cases, ICE vans have been spotted near local mosques too. And Siembra contacted actually one of the local mosques. So because there are people, there are hundreds of people right now trained, and they're doing that. They're simply tracking the movement of the ICE and Border Patrol. So now the last few slides is about the movement building aspect, which I mentioned is extremely important because it is not through just legal support, just through the brilliance of a lawyer that we're gonna save ourselves, but it is through people's power, and eventually we have to get our people elected, we have to get the policies changed. And now a lot of folks are talking about Mamdani, which is really an important development, and some of the attacks we are seeing is paranoia amongst the ruling elite who do not see the black and brown community even to come to power or change the balance of power. And I just wanted to say that it's not just Mahmood Mamdani, but there are a lot of Muslims actually in the last election got elected. And this is extremely important. This is a way for us to also exercise our power, to protect our people, to pass more humane and just immigration policies as well as the other policies. But the other thing you will notice is that most of these people are elected because they are taking bread and butter issues of the people that are more popular. That's the only way we can gain support. And we should. Islam has has a very strong concept of social justice. So on affordable housing, on transportation, on healthcare, education, just and fair immigration, that they are getting support. But the other thing is also that there is a huge coalition for Mamdani. If you look at the organizations that were behind him, there were very important organizations that have roots in New York City, that have done a lot of, change the balance of power. There were even Jewish groups, Jewish Voice of Peace, Jews for Racial and Economic Justice, who have split the Zionist vote. DRUM is one organization we are in touch. It's got Desi's Rise Up and Moving, which is a South Asian working class organization who increased their voter turnout by 350%. And many other organizations you can see listed here. But the very important concept, Mamdani's mayoral campaign had over 90,000 volunteers in the final week and a half, with a total volunteer force of more than 50,000 people who knocked on 1.6 million doors. And I think this is a very important lesson. This is not just for getting elected, but it is also a way to protect ourselves. If we have mass movements like that, we can also, challenge oppressive policies. We can free people from detention. Some of the pictures I showed you about local people freed, they were not as big coalitions, but we had a significant number of people mobilized, and that puts a pressure on the judges. Judges then see the power of the people before deciding. If somebody gets detained, arrested, and nobody talks about them, they're unknown in the community, it's much more easier for them to disappear them or deport them. But if a lot of people start demanding justice, then they also become fearful. And in many cases, you may have seen videos that ICE are retreating. Once a lot of people came making videos or blowing whistles or demanding why you're here, they get scared and they have also retreated from there. I just wanted to also share the New York City protest against Muslim ban. Many of the coalition members I showed, labor unions, taxi cab drivers, DSA members, DRUM were involved. Also in the protest against Muslim ban in January 2017, the first Muslim ban. So it is really important, not just for political power, that we have to organize these large coalitions, because that's the only way we can change the balance of power. And some of the triangle organization coalition Samir was discussing too, we are part is Break the Bonds, which is demanding that North Carolina state divest its pension and retirement from Israel bonds. Do you know our money is being invested in Israel bonds? And many of the Jewish Voice of Peace is one of the leading organizations, but Palestine Youth Movement and others are involved. But also there are North Carolina Democrats for Palestinian lives, and North Carolina Democratic Party now the only party in the country. We are non-partisan, but it's a fact that they are now demanding embargo on Israel, State of Israel. And Southern Workers Assembly, which is basically a organization of labor unions in 13 U.S. southern states, and very strong pro-Palestine motive. I'm just showing some examples where, inshallah, we want more and more Muslims to be also involved. But this is how we can get our people elected too. There are many pro-Palestine elected in November. I didn't have slides for them. Sean McMillan in Fayetteville. But we have many more opportunities, inshallah, here to change the balance of power through building the coalition and also protecting our people.
And as a matter of fact, through pressure, through a number of groups that we worked on, we had pressure on Briner, and it was announced just last week that the state will divest from their investments with Israel. So this was not done just by us, but done with work with our coalition partners, and we kept pressing. I even went to a protest with my own son there. It takes this work, this pressure, it's going to take time, but we need to start working on it now. We don't want to be in the position to say, oh, I don't know how this happened to us. How did we get here? We can control our own destiny, inshallah. But that takes work, building coalitions, and speaking truth to power.
Definitely. And Brother Samir said, I don't know if many people know that Durham is the only city in the country that has banned Durham police to be trained by Israel. 2018. That's the only city in the country. So a lot of things already have happened. G4S, a prison industry that operated in Israel, had a $1 million contract in Durham that was kicked out in 2015. And now that country has left even Israel-Palestine area. So there are many, many victories. Obviously, our opponents are much more entrenched and money, but inshallah, we can make a change if we are organized. That's the most important thing. We need to be organized, inshallah, to change the balance of power and protect and defend our people. With that, I have come to conclusion to I know there's a lot of slides, and we'll definitely want to hear from you, your questions about any aspect, including, immigrant rights.
Sure, if anybody has any questions, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair. Just a quick question about one of the slides that said that when we see ICE, it's critical that we do recording and post on social media. Is there a way, like a preferred way, like doing a live recording, tagging certain organizations that is more effective?
Thank you. No, that's a very good question. And I think on social media, Siembra is very important. These three organizations, if people find them through Siembra, Radar Safe, Carolina Migrant Network, Muslim Soldiers is also listed. You can tag us too. I also want to say, in some states, it's not allowed to videotape, but North Carolina, you can allow. There are some laws different. So North Carolina, I think, is a one-party consent state. So if you want to do it, you can do it. But that's definitely a very important way to, highlight what's going on. And a lot of organizations got mobilized. And then if a person is detained even, people then follow up. People then go after the, immigration, courts to get them freed. So this is why it's extremely important, yeah. Any other questions, brother here? Anna can move it to you.
This this question is for maybe people that own businesses. If you employ people, of course, as a business owner, it's not my job to verify your employees' immigration status if they present to you with what appears to be legit documents. So my question to you is that can come back at me or cause me to be...
That's a very good question. I'm not sure owners are impacted yet, and again, I don't want to say for sure, but one thing I want to say, you can refuse you can tell ICE they cannot enter your business. In the masjid too, without a warrant, they cannot enter. That's your legal right. The thing is, a lot of people are too afraid, right? They say, oh, he's a policeman, dressed as a policeman, so he should just come in. No, do they have a warrant? Does it have your address? Does it have the name of the person they're looking for? And in many cases, they don't have that. And they're just walking in. So you should, first thing, tell them if they don't have it, they cannot enter. I know this is a courageous thing to do, but this is the most important thing to do. And most likely, they're going to still enter, and then you start videotaping. Whatever they do, start videotaping. If they detain somebody, videotape. But this whole process of videoing is going to protect you, it's going to protect the worker, it's going to show, in many cases, what they're doing is violating. They are not supposed to, enter without a judicial warrant when they are actually doing it right now.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, you have a private business. That is key. That is key in making sure that they do present that warrant. It's scare tactics, right? So that's what they're trying. They want us to be scared. But if we're informed, we'll be less scared, right? Inshallah.
And this is why you should keep in touch with us. Come to our organizations, right? I mean, a lot of fear is because people don't know. People don't come to these kind of gatherings, you know. By the way, law enforcement came to my home too, long time back. And I didn't talk to them. I knew Project South. I gave them their card, and they never bothered me back. Because a lot of people don't know their rights, and this is why it's extremely important. If you allow them, then they are going to do more and more to other people too. So it's very important we, give strength to each other and we stand together. Otherwise, unfortunately, a lot of bad things happening, and a lot of bad things happening to our community, our young people, because we did not know our rights. Any other question? Yeah. Okay. This brother can bring fast though.
So, how is the relationship between the local law enforcement and ICE? Are they going to share, for example, if somebody gets involved in a traffic violation or some other felony type of crime, and then is that, the collaboration happening between the local police departments versus the ICE?
So that's a very good question. So there used to be a policy called 287G. I think many decades ago it was introduced that forced that many law enforcement agencies signed it to collaborate with ICE. So even Wake County, our old sheriff, Donnie Harrison, signed that 287G. And what they do basically, you're right, if somebody has a traffic violation, they keep them in jail, and they keep them in jail for a while so that ICE will come and investigate any because the local police cannot ask your immigration status. They cannot talk anything. That's not their jurisdiction, it's a federal issue. So they what you call retainer, they retain them in the jail, so then ICE gets involved. Thankfully, 5 largest counties in North Carolina, we elected sheriffs that were against 287G. Wake County, Durham County, Cumberland and Fayetteville, Guilford, Greensboro, and Charlotte-Mecklenburg. All 5 said we are not going to do it. But unfortunately, very recently, I think a few months ago, North Carolina General Assembly now passed a law that's requiring police departments throughout the country to collaborate with ICE. Even there, I heard some other counties saying we are not going to do it, or it is beyond our scope. And so Wake County probably, I'm not 100% sure, but I think Durham County is better. But I heard in Johnston County they are actually doing that. So it depends on county and the sheriff and the police department. And this is why these elections we have to be very careful. When oftentimes we are looking at the the presidential election, this local election is even more important. Who's the sheriff? Who's the district attorney? City council member and stuff. Because we need progressive people who are against those kind of policies. But I would say right now it's in a gray area. I don't know 100% unless you have an idea on that. Yeah. But that's a very good question. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, brother.
Yeah, Jazakumullah khair for the presentation. I have a comment, in fact, not a question. Many of us immigrants came from countries that are run by intelligence service. And people are scared from the police, scared from the mukhabarat, scared from this and this and that. I re-emphasize what you have said, that here the situation is different. However, we have a case which is really a lesson for many of us, where government agents went to a brother's home and they did not have a warrant. But still he told them, feel free to search my home. And that was a really huge mistake, not a big, a huge mistake in that regard. Because the brother's English was not that good. It turned out that he applied when he was in Florida for a voter registration card. He just checked, yeah, I went to apply for it. He was not a US citizen. And as some of you know, before 1994, if you have got any benefit from this government, including, registering to vote, and it was a fraud, there was jail. After 1994, it's deportation. There's no jail, there's deportation. So eventually he was held in the prison for about 2 months and deported. So that mistake, most likely from my perspective, is the same mentality that we have back home. This is the government coming to your home. Instead of asking them, do you have the warrant? He said, oh, feel free to search, because he thought I have nothing to hide. What they found is this voter registration card, which ended up, again, in him being deported after really putting him in jail for some time. So we have to stand for our values. We do not fear anything, anybody, any entity other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this regard. And knowing your rights is your first step, as what the two brothers have mentioned. Jazakumullahu khair.
You don't have to say any word unless you have your lawyer present. You have the right to remain silent. We do not need to say anything to anybody. And this is something we all know, that's a big power to have. We all have that, inshallah.
And just they're very, very important, absolutely. And this is what we learned from the black radical leaders, that they told us, that's what they've been going through. There was news of Imam Jamil Al-Amin, there are a lot of folks who have suffered a lot in the COINTELPRO. Before Muslim, there was a lot of spying against black people, and especially destroying the black organizing with white and other people. They're specifically targeting them. And they knew not to speak to cops, not to have conversation without a lawyer. But the other thing in general, you're right, unfortunately, despite all the flaws, it has still a system in America. I'll give an example. 2 students from NC State University self-deported themselves recently after this administration. They didn't even fight back. This was this scare tactic by ICE. They're Saudi students, my understanding. And allegedly on Palestine, when they didn't even do anything, that was during that time when Mahmoud Khalil and all the other students were detained, or somewhat later, they just self-deported themselves. They should have fought back, because what happens again, if people start self-deporting themselves out of fear, or they may have so much money that they said it doesn't matter to them. Then ICE went to all other universities one by one. UNC Chapel Hill, Duke University, and other universities around the country. Guess what? The lawyers got involved then. And they said this is absolute abuse of power. And then the federal judges actually came out against ICE, and ICE has to withdraw. And those students won in other universities. So there are a lot of cases, like Mahmoud Khalil. He could have said, just deport me. He didn't say deport me, he's going to fight back. And this is a part of Islam, as Brother Hisham Sarsoor say. We shouldn't fear anything, and we should fight for our rights, just like anybody, because that's going to open the path for other people too, who are being abused in the system, inshallah. Yes. Yes. No, very important. Again, be connected. Isolation is the worst thing. Isolation of Muslim or any community is the worst thing. Because isolation creates fear, isolation creates doubts, isolation creates opportunity for people to, do bad kind of thing, or compromises which they should not do. So most important thing for all of us, this is why we are here, this is why we are circulating it. Please keep in touch. Take my number, call me. There are a lot of people who have contacted, and we are still working right now, providing them lawyers. So that we need to, that's the least thing. And I would highly recommend, and Brother Hisham Sarsoor is already doing it, that we need to have these social justice committees in the masjid, where we discuss all of these things, have the no rights material available. We will be happy to come again. because we need to all be protected. Right now, Brother Arif and I went to churches to get trained on what to do if ICE comes. And there are like 500-600 people, white mostly congregants, getting trained on what to do. They are regularly doing these kind of trainings. And the best protection for us is the community, is the movement. And the worst situation is when we are isolated. We have brother from India, and what's happening to Muslims there is similar example, where if you are isolated, that's very dangerous. And you are surrounded by then people. There are a lot of forces in the non-Muslim community who are willing to help us. A lot of folks don't even know the name Siembra in the past. Right now, I hope, and many people probably know already, we need to at least know the names. That's why I showed the coalition members of Mamdani too, that we need to first recognize who are the forces and who are already standing for us, what are the name of different lawyers, what are the name of different organizations, and that's the best way that if a person gets arrested, there should be a due process of law, right? If let's say there's a crime too, okay, it should just have the legitimate, punishment, whatever, it should not be undue punishment. People have been gone to ICE detention and fainted or died inside the detention. That's not acceptable. Brother Musa Hamadisa from Raleigh was detained in Georgia. 2 times he fainted there. So, and one Pakistani brother actually, who had a relative here, died in ICE detention. So there are a lot of abuses also happening. That's not law. So even if a person did a crime or misdemeanor, there's still human rights applied. And we should not give up the process. We should continue, standing up for justice so they get the, proper justice, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, our goal is that we don't have to reach out to Siembra one day. One day, we should be leading the social justice movement. People should come to Muslims and say, oh, this is the group that is on the forefront of social justice in the United States. It's these Muslims that are doing this good. That's the best work we can do, inshallah, is fight for justice. And we need this. We need numbers. We need all your soldiers. We need your kids. Everybody. We need to work for this. This is very important to Islam. Inshallah, Jazakallah khair for inviting us. We thank you and hope you spread this to other people, inshallah, that we need to join together, empower ourselves, and gain this knowledge, inshallah.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.